everybody, welcome back to the Bideo. This is an interesting video because I had scheduled it for tonight, and since Dan is out of town, I think he's actually in Chicago right now, it's only going to be me, Steve, and Nick. However, Steve and Nick have both, not shown up, so I'm going to be doing a chunk of this video by myself, just so that we have something to listen to. So you're about to listen to me chatter on for I don't even know how long. Maybe they'll show up. So let's get started. First I'd like to talk a little bit about my YouTube channel that not a lot of people have been watching, which is totally okay. But I figure I'd just get some news out there. I have not touched StarCraft since the last episode I recorded, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to it or not. I know I'm going to beat the game, but I don't know if I really want to record it. I do not have, the perfect, setup to record my videos. It's mostly on a laptop, and in order to not pick up the sounds of my laptop, I have to turn I have to turn off the fan. I have to make sure I shut off the actual fan in my room so that you don't hear the fan in my room. I have to shut everything off. And then while playing StarCraft for an hour, my laptop heats up something fierce, okay? And so, I don't want to continually burn myself, because what I'd like to do is record a bunch of episodes beforehand and then release them throughout the week. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue doing computer games, but I would still like to. I'm willing to maybe go back and try it, but I'm not sure if it's going to pan out. So, yeah, I would like to, but I don't want to promise that, I will. Some other things I would like to be doing I'm bad at grammar. So I found my old capture card for retro gaming, and I'm thinking about doing playthroughs of all of the Breath of Fire games. 1 through 3 anyway. Because I've been playing a little bit of 2, and I'm really enjoying myself. I don't know what it is. I think about this all the time, right? Modern gaming versus old school gaming, and I really like playing games in a dark room by myself. Maybe it's raining. God willing, it's storming, and I'm playing Super Nintendo on a CRT, just enjoying myself in the dark. And that's what I find really fun. But another thing that, since we've moved forward in gaming and online aspects, right? There's a lot more multiplayer games out there. And I find I'm playing Heroes of the Storm a lot. I've been playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I've been playing Albion Online. I've been playing just whatever. Final Fantasy 14 too. I've been playing online games, and I'm having a lot of fun with those because I'm playing those with friends. But I'm not sure if I'm actually enjoying the games or not. When I know, when I pick up Nintendo games, I'm going to have fun with those Nintendo games or Super Nintendo games, whether I have friends there or not. And I don't know. I just think about that sometimes. Do you guys think about that sometimes? Social obligations versus, I don't know, alone time with your passion. It's really interesting. Anyway, back on track. I have a lot of Super Nintendo games that I haven't really beaten, and I'd kind of like to get back to doing those, and I'd like to do episodic gameplay videos of those. And I know, there are thousands of Let's Players out there. And I don't think I want to, be a Let's Player in the general sense, I want to make gameplay videos for YouTube. It's more I want to make gameplay videos for myself, so I can chronicle the games that I've played and my opinions of the time and, look back and see how I felt about a certain game during this period of my life. Or I know there's some games out there where I'm not quite sure if I've beaten it. Final Fantasy V is a good example. On my backloggery, I don't think I put it down that I beat it. I actually just put it down as unbeaten because I can't, for the life of me, remember if I've beaten it or not. So I was playing Final Fantasy V again, which is another thing I kind of want to record and do. Because my brother picked up an Elgato HD capture card, and I don't have Final Fantasy V for the original system. I'm not sure if it was Super Nintendo or if it was PlayStation. But, I would like to go back and play through Final Fantasy V and make, 15, 20-minute videos of each thing and have, 170 episodes of that. And I think that would be a lot of fun. And I'd like to, confirm that I've beaten a game. And, if I'm ever I wonder if I ever did, I can remember that I did a specific YouTube series about beating that game. Which I think would be, a lot of fun. And it would make me feel good inside. Feel gamer good. But yeah, I think that's how I feel about the YouTube and my YouTube videos situation. This podcast is a lot like that, in the sense that Steve, Nick, and Dan are all really good friends of mine, and I want to know their opinions. I want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what games they're playing, and just how they are in general. That's sort of why I made this podcast. I want to do something with my passion for video games, and I'd like to share it with my friends. And I know Steve for sure would love to look back on this. He already said he has. He's gone back to episode 2 or 3 or whatever to see what we thought of things when we did. And when I think of episode 2 or 3 or whatever, I think we were the worst garbage podcasters, ever. It's like the... God, how do I phrase this? It's I'm gonna say it like Day 9 said it, nonchalantly in one of his videos. Mediocrity plus time equals expertise. And we suck, but given enough time, we're gradually improving. We are getting so much better. We're learning a lot more about how to keep the flow of a podcast going, And the only thing really holding us back, well, I guess there's two things, is the fact that it's really hard to get 4 people together on one day a week when we all have pretty much conflicting schedules. I work evenings. I don't know what Nick works, but I know Dan and Steve work mornings to nights. And Steve works early morning, and Dan works a little bit later in the morning, but not too much. And I know Dan lives with a bunch of dudes who are always doing stuff, playing board games or getting together and playing video games. And Steve has a ball and chain that's keeping him down, in which he wants to spend time with her. And Nick is awesome. I just don't ever talk to Nick, and I'm not sure why. It's one of those things where I know I like Nick, and I know we're good friends, but he's just not one I talk to a lot, and it sucks. I want to talk to Nick more and become better friends with him. But that's something that's holding us back. Another thing that's holding us back is the way we record, right? So we use Skype and some garbage Skype recording software. That's not something I really like. I wish there was a better way to handle it all in general. The last episode, which would have been episode 14, I believe, if we had a different recording setup, I would have not... what happened was there was an audio imbalance, and I've tried multiple times using Audacity to fix it, and every time I do it, it just warps the audio. So I tested out beforehand, before we even recorded, too, so that I knew it would work out, but then when I went to go edit it, my voice was 15 times louder than everyone else's, and since now we've become more natural in our speaking. We're just talking over each other sometimes, and our words will overlap with each other, and that's totally fine. But it's really hard for an editing standpoint, when you're only working with one audio file. We tried. There was another situation where we tried everyone just recording to Audacity and then merging the files. But an issue with that is when we record with Audacity, everything gets picked up. Like, you could hear scratching on tables. You could hear every key press that Dan would be pressing while he was playing his MMOs. You could hear stuff in the background of Steve. You could hear stuff in the background of me. It was just not a very good time. But we're trying to push forward, and we're trying to get better at this. Like, it's a lot more difficult than you would think it actually is. But this is something I really like doing, and I hope they like doing it too. I hope they actually even listen to this, so that they can know my standpoint on it. Because even though I do talk to them, I've thought about this specific set of stuff in like the last week. I like doing this podcast, and I want to continue doing this podcast, and I have no intention of ever making money on it. But again, it'd be cool, whatever. Like, if they want to monetize it or whatever you have, I think that'd be a lot of fun too. Like, get money, maybe buy microphones for everybody. I don't know. I can't say, like, oh, I would like to do this with money and this with money when, like, we have 10 listeners, right? This would be very far into the future, and we'd have to get a lot more interesting. Like, we are not entertainers by any stretch of the imagination. We're just 4 dudes, right? We are 4 guys. We're just sitting here, and we're talking about video games. I've been talking for 13 minutes, strictly about, like, dumb YouTube stuff and, like, how I feel about the podcast. That's going to be the intro for this actual podcast, because they haven't shown up yet. But yeah, I think that's just something I wanted to get out of the way, so that we have a solid, 15 minutes of recording, so when they get here, things will go a lot quicker and smoother. Another thing is, it's hard to conform to a strict time schedule, because we record infrequently. Like, our plan was to record every 2 weeks on Thursdays. And since my job is a very flex job, sometimes I have to work those Thursdays, and I'm trying to get people to show up on a different time, and I'm like, hey guys, can we make this work? Can we make this, can we push it up? Can we push it back? And I'm trying to get that out there, so that we do have something. But another issue is, Steve's been out of town every weekend for like the last 10 weekends. Dan's out of town this week, so we couldn't push it back when Steve was out of town on those weekends. Dan isn't going to be here for this week. I had to work a couple Thursdays ago, so we couldn't do it then. And I might have to work this Thursday. So, it's pretty difficult, and we're trying to get something out there. So even to our 1 to 2 listeners, we have something for them. Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel. I just wanted to get all that out there. Just wanted to say some stuff about what we are, who we are, and my opinion on the whole matter. But something non-game related is, I know this is a podcast about video games, but we're all people, and we all have other situations in our lives that can't be video games all the time, unfortunately. And something I've been doing is I have almost entirely replaced soda in my life with sparkling water. And I know it's only been like 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm already feeling better. I feel thinner. Like, I'm an overweight guy. I'm not going to say I was, because I still am. I am an overweight guy, and for some reason I always have to drink soda, and I'm trying very hard to replace it with sparkling water, because that's the, much more healthier situation. I was replacing soda with juice, but I think there's something in, like, carbonation. or whatever, the fizzy bubbles. I just can't get enough. So I do actually replace soda with sparkling water now, and I've done it so, like, I have stuck with it, and it's not even that hard for me. When I did juice or whatever, it was hard, because, like, when you wake up and it's warm in your room, you're so thirsty, like in the middle of the night or whatever, you're really thirsty, and your saliva is like gooey and sticky. Sorry for the the image in your head, but you know what I'm talking about. And the only thing that ever cleans it up is carbonation. And I used to have to drink pop to do that because I hated the flavor of sparkling water. Because it didn't taste like water, it tasted like something garbagey with like a hint of whatever pretend flavor that they threw in there. But now I don't know what it is. My taste buds have changed or whatever, but sparkling water is totally okay. So I'm now cutting out, like, I would say 700 plus calories of soda just every day. Just that is gone. It is now just water. So yeah, that's that. I switched to water. It's cool. With any luck, these guys will show up pretty soon and we can get a podcast started. Thanks for listening to this, by the way. If you listen to the whole podcast, I love you. But if you listen to this first 15 minutes, thanks for putting up with who I am and my opinions on things these days. What you should hear next is a different audio quality podcast with me, Nick, and Steve. Because I'm recording this in Audacity straight up, and with the actual podcast, we'll be recording in Skype. Anyway, thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. Oh no, I'm a liar. Turns out Steve is gonna be late from work, and like it's 8 p.m. and Steve goes to bed at like 6 p.m. So this is gonna be a one-man podcast. I hope you enjoy listening to me prattle on for however long I do. I could have added Nick in here, but I think it's just easier for me to just keep going and finish this one out myself. Maybe it'll be a short one, maybe it'll be episode 13.5, and we'll try to get together and do a real one. I just want to get some, I hate the word content, but I want to get some content out there. I want something for somebody to listen to, even if it isn't the best, even if you're forced to deal with me the whole time. So I'm going to jump into what I've been playing since the last episode. I played a little bit of Overwatch. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I used to be way into Overwatch. Like, when it first came out for the first 4 or 5 months or whatever, I would play Overwatch pretty much every day. And I'd play it with a bunch of friends, and at one point, I got so into it and so, like, salty about losing that I realized that I was salty about losing, and I was making myself miserable. So I just had to stop. The streamer Raisefire, who I'm a big fan of, he speedruns Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine, and he plays Mario Kart 8. I think he went through something similar. I can't don't quote me on that. I can't for sure say, but he said he didn't like the way Overwatch made him. And I don't know. I feel like that's a good description of why I stopped playing Overwatch, is because I would get really anal about comps, and I'd just be like upset if things didn't go the perfect way, and I'd be like, okay, this is the counter to this is the counter to this, and then we wouldn't get those counters, and then we'd lose, and I would blame the counters, even though we're all like, what is it, diamond? Platinum? one of the two I was in, and I would just get upset, even though like our skill in the game doesn't mean like if you pick McCree, you're going to beat Farah. Like we don't have the full-on abilities to make use of that. So I don't know. I just got really salty and upset with it, and one time I snapped at my friends, and I felt like, oh my god, I'm a bad person for doing this. So I kind of stopped playing Overwatch. I don't know. I think it's just a very salt-inducing game. It made me kind of upset. But anyway, another Blizzard game I've been playing is Heroes of the Storm. Not a lot of playing of it, but I have been playing it. I've been playing the Brawl, which is essentially ARAM, and if you don't know what ARAM is, League of Legends has a mode called All Random, All Mid, where each team gets a random character, and there's only one lane, and you have to fight down that one lane, and you cannot go back and heal. So players and characters with a lot of sustain are probably good, and a lot of poke are really good. And so you usually want those, and the same works for Heroes of the Storm, where you want heroes who can heal themselves, or can have like a lot of mana, or can return mana to players, and you want players with stuns and poke. So yeah, if you can get a good team comp there, it's a lot of fun. A lot of them have been long and very even battles. So I've been having a lot of fun with those, but you get your one side rolls and other side situations. But yeah, I've been playing some of the Heroes of the Storm. The situation with Zelda 2 and me speedrunning it, I am not speedrunning Zelda 2 anymore. I gave up entirely on it. I couldn't do it. It's just too hard. All the enemies are so random that every battle with an enemy is like a Dark Souls boss fight, where you're just trying to dodge and like kill the guy, but also still kind of go fast. I have a newfound respect for Zelda 2 speedrunners. It is ridiculous. I don't know if you can manage the RNG in that game, but like I was watching a tutorial on how to speedrun that game, and in almost all of the rooms for the first like 2 temples, the guy was like, okay, you shouldn't take any damage here, but you might take damage here. And it's hard to deal with that. Like, there's no good ways to take out enemies. He'll be like, you do this pattern, and then you'll kill the enemy instantly. But if you're not, like, perfect and can pull off the pattern every time, you're gonna take a hit, and you might die. And the easy route for beginners is all keys, no continues, where you get every key to open a door. You don't ever fly through it as a fairy, and you can't use a continue. You can die, but you can't use a continue. And I was using continues before Temple 2. I just think Zelda 2 is not a game for me to speedrun. Even though I really like it and I like the movement in that game, I can't do it. I suck. So I was thinking maybe I'll try a different game. Maybe one of the original Mega Man? I don't know. Maybe one of the original of those? Or I might try X2 again? Or I might try Mega Man, or Rockman X3. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have the Japanese version of that game. So I kind of want to try Mega Man X3, because of the 3, that's my second favorite, and I already know how to run Mega Man X. So I might try that. I also kind of wanted to try speedrunning a PC game. But like every time you see a game's done quick, or an RPG limit break, you're like, I want to speedrun a video game, and I think I can do it. And then you can do it, but you can't do it overnight, and that's very disheartening for me. Because I'm used to being naturally good at stuff, so like, when I can't do something, it's very, very frustrating. So yeah, that's why I might go back to Mega Man X3, because I already have a good grasp on the movement of Mega Man X, and that's just, I feel like it translates very well. So yeah, I also want to speedrun Breath of Fire 2, which I've been kind of softly playing through, like very casually. Because that's my favorite of the Breath of Fires, even though I know that it's not the best Breath of Fire. It's the one that holds a better place in my heart. Even though I know 3 is technically better, and everyone else likes 3 more, I like 2. So I want to do that. But another issue with that is that is 7.5 hours of a run. And that's world record. Other people, it takes like 9 to 10 hours to do. But Elmagus has a nice tutorial on it. And I think it'd be fun to be able to run a really long RPG. But then, like, if you stream it, your entire stream is just going to be one run. Like, you don't get to do a bunch of runs, you don't get to, like, mix it up, you have to do one run, and then you have to, like, go to bed, because that's, like, 8 hours. And if you work 8 hours, and then you stream 8 hours, you go to bed 8 hours. There's not much in between. So I think it'd be fun to run that. But yeah, it's really long. Another thing that arises with that statement is I want to be a streamer. Not for like money or anything, but I just like the concept of streaming and interacting with chat. The issue there for me is I have a router and I can only really do Wi-Fi. I've looked into power lines, which are essentially outlet plugins with Ethernet cables, which is really terrifying to me. So until I move, I can't really stream, which sort of brings up the YouTube situation, where like I want to do YouTube. I want to make content with video games, and I think YouTube is the only real way to do it without a solid internet connection, you know? I don't want my stream going down like every 7 or 8 minutes for like a second. I want to be able to stream fully and all the way through with decent quality. And yeah, you can't really do that on Wi-Fi. So I'm going to be uploading episodes on YouTube instead. But I don't want to upload a speedrun of a game, you know, that's 8 hours. 8 hours of a video game is going to take like 13 days to upload. Because I've uploaded like 40 minutes, and it takes a while just to upload that to YouTube. So yeah, I want to stream, but I don't want to until I get an Ethernet cable. So I'm going to be doing the YouTube route. And since I lied to you, and this is not a 3-man podcast, it's a 1-man podcast, you've already heard my my bout on YouTube and what I would like to do with it. I've been playing Team Fortress 2 also. I've played this in the past, and you've heard about it, because you're a fervent listener to the video, and you know all about how I played Team Fortress 2 and World of Warcraft once upon a time. And Team Fortress 2 is the same thing. It's fun to play, and I've been having fun playing it every now and again. So that's cool. Yeah. Another game I've been playing is Albion Online. It's sort of a sandbox MMO where you get like 3 quests as a tutorial, and then that's it. And then they just like, okay, now you know what you're supposed to kind of be able to do. Go do it. So I've been playing. I made a cloth armor with a warlock staff situation, sorta. And those guys deal with dots, damage over time spells, and like it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of times where you have to like go collect like stuff in the wild to sell on the marketplace, because nothing sells you anything. You cannot buy anything from any NPC ever. You have to get them from collecting, and I don't know how you get horses. There's gotta be like a farm situation you do. But yeah, people have horses, and then you have to learn to ride them, and you have to get skills, and everything has like a level up system. Yeah, so I'm good at collecting cloth, I'm good at collecting wood, but I suck at mining. To me it seems fun, but it also seems kind of not fun. Because the situation, and that I understand this. Like, you want players to make their own fun in your game. But I feel like you also have to provide some fun in your game so that they can have the fun in your game. But this is a situation of a game where, like, you know that the best stories that are going to be told are the ones of you and your friends going off and doing something, and not like, I don't know, you beat a raid boss or whatever. It's going to be like, you were out in the world with PvP, and then you got ganked, and then you ganked somebody back. That's the sort of thing that I think they're going for, is that the players make their own stories instead of providing quests where you down a giant monster or whatever. Even though I think there are boss monsters out in the world, I'm not that far. I'm only tier 3 out of 8 or whatever. So yeah, that game is... I'm on the fence about it, but it's free to play after you buy it. Buy to play, I guess, is a good way to put it. So there's no monthly subscription. But the pack you buy, the Founders Pack, the $30 to play the game, gives you premium status, and I'm not a fan of games that give you premium status. So every time you collect something, you get 1 or 2 more of those, and you get a little bit more fame, or experience, I guess it would be, but it's called fame. You get a little bit more of that. I hate buying things that give you boosts to that. I'm a huge fan of the free-to-play model where, with the microtransactions, where you can buy different armor-looking things, but it doesn't actually affect your armor. Cosmetics is what it's called, but, you know, things like that. Things where you can buy a cape or whatever, and it doesn't actually affect you, it just looks neat. Other than that, I've been playing... I got a couple of these games on this list are nice. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I'm gonna get to that one now. So it's sort of like a Hunger Games situation where 100 players are dropped on an island, and the last one alive wins. And it's sort of like a... I don't want to say it's post-apocalyptic, but all the houses are like broken down, and it looks like you've dropped in a war zone that everyone evacuated, and your goal is to collect weapons and like healing items like painkillers and bandages and medkits, and armor like police vests and helmets, and your goal is to be the last one alive. And there's a thing called a play zone, which is a circle on that island, and if you're not in the play zone, you're essentially just going to take damage. You're going to be hurt and hurt and hurt until you're dead. So the goal is to constantly be moving towards that circle while not dying and killing people, and it's a lot of fun. There's vehicles, and there's a few different ways to play it. I've seen on YouTube Zombies mode, which is a team of 4 against, I guess it would be 96 zombies. And zombies can only melee, and I don't know if they run faster or not, but they really blend in with the background. And that seems really fun. But most people will play the singles, I would say, where it's you're your own man, and you're out fighting 99 others. And last one alive is the winner. I've played duos, which is 100 people, I would assume 50 teams of 2, and you cover each other's back and you just try to be the last 2 people alive. But you can be the last one alive and win for your team. As long as you're the last one alive, you have better chances, I guess. And then there are squads, where you can enter as 3 or 4 people. And it's been really hard to get a team of 4 with my friends. I don't know what it is, but I always play with a different team of 3 every night, but we can never get a 4th person. It's ridiculous. And that one's the most fun. That one makes for the best stories. Like, Albion Online, they want you to make your own stories, but I feel like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds makes for funnier times and just better stories. Like one time we were driving fast down a road and we spotted a car, and I was trying to throw a grenade out the window to blow up the car so no one else could use it. But my right click didn't work, so I didn't peek out the window. Instead, I just cooked the grenade in the car, and then it was silent for a few seconds, and everyone was like, "Did I just hear a grenade?" And then we all exploded, and it was fun. It was a good time. Yeah, it was a good time for me. I'm sure everyone else was really mad. But I thought it was hilarious. So yeah, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is $30 on Steam. I'm unsure if it's actually worth that price. I've got about 30 hours into it, so I'm thinking it is. But the problem I find with it is that it takes... Like, if you drop in an area with other people and don't find a gun, you're dead. And then you have to go back to the lobby, and then you have to find another game, and then you have to wait a minute for the setup, and then you have to wait to fly over the thing, and then you have to pick a place to land, and you land there again. Like, you land again. And I feel like that eats up a lot of time. So the best way to play a lot of that game is to not fight anybody. But then when you don't fight anybody, you don't get the experience of fighting people to make yourself a better player in order to fight people. Do you know what I mean? It feels really silly. Like, there should be a shooting range or something where you can practice shooting at other people in like the environment. And I know there's the 1 minute setup place with the little mini island where everyone lands, or where everyone is, and you can pick up a couple guns and fire at invincible people. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more combat experience without all the waiting. I don't know. That's my gripe with the game. The game's a lot of fun. I don't want to play it alone. I'm only going to play it with another player, or 3 other players, or 2, or whatever. Because I find that to be the most fun. Hanging out with your bros, ducking in fields, getting headshot, and dying. That's fun. Another game that I've been playing... Oh, we're going to get to the new games pretty soon. But I've been playing Deep Space Waifu. I was at a friend's this last weekend, and we had been drinking, and I was just looking through games on Steam, and I saw one for $1.60 called Deep Space Waifu. And it's a bullet hell, sort of. Like, it's not really hard. And there are 2 goals in the game, at least as far as I know. One is to shoot off the clothes of the girl in the background and strip her naked. And 2 is to kill the bosses. The bosses and enemies that show up and get high scores. So when you kill the enemies, you get stars, and you want to collect up to 5 gold stars, and I don't know, like, the enemies drop black stars. I don't know how many black stars equals 1 gold star, but the whole goal of that is to get 5 stars. And then you're trying to strip the girl is the other thing. Like, you know what your reward is there. And this game is great, because it knows exactly what it was trying to be. So on the official forums, I'm not sure if I should say this or not, there's a post in which they're like, okay, Steam doesn't want us to allow nudity in the game, but here's how to allow nudity in the game. And it's really easy, and it works. And I totally did it, and it's awesome. And, like, so you want to shoot the clothes off the girl to make her naked, and then you want, like, to kill the enemies, and there's different modes, and there's one called one-handed mode, and the description is, of course, Only takes one hand to fire things, when you could use your hand to do anything else. So, they know what they were going for there. They are not even pretending to hide it or anything. But you go through and you fight different... You don't fight the girls, but you go through different girls, and they're the background. And at the end, you get a screenshot of your progress. So if you took off all their clothes, you get to see them fully nude. And there's jokes and memes. And one girl is a streamer or YouTuber. And once you declothe her, she gets giant cannons on her boobs. And the boss, it becomes a boss called Boobius. And you have to destroy them. It's pretty good. It's definitely worth $1.60. And I got that from my uncle. He gave it to me as a gift. So that's pretty cool. So 2 new games came out since the last time we've done a podcast, right? We have West of Loathing. This game is God tier game. It's made from the guys who did Kingdom of Loathing, which is a browser-based text game in which it's like an RPG, but it's so much wordplay and jokes and making fun of tropes and stuff. It's really funny. In West of Loathing, the movement is sort of like Paper Mario, and the combat is grid-based. There's a 3x3 grid on the left, 3x3 grid on the right, and you take turns fighting each other. And that game is all about Western puns and cowboy jokes and the like. It is such a good game. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It was I expected to pay $20, right? I knew that this game was going to be good, and I'm going to pay $20 to play this game. It was $10. $10 for this game is bananas. There's so much creative writing and just interesting encounters, and there's so much to find, and this game's great. The secrets are so good. The 3 classes are Cowpuncher, Bean Slinger, and Snake Oiler, and it's just a wonderful game. You get different hats. There's demon clowns and hell cows, and they're at war with each other, and there's hippies, and there's soldiers, and there's goblins, and it's just a lot of fun to play. Very few games these days hold my attention entirely, and I just played 15 hours of West of Loathing pretty much straight. I'd get on every night, and I'd just play West of Loathing until I beat West of Loathing. It's really good. I cannot stress it enough. If you have $10, get on Steam and play West of Loathing. There's no excuse not to. So, in the same sense of games that hold your attention, another game came out, and I bought this day one, Sonic Mania. It returns to the old Sonics from Genesis era, and I think it was made by essentially fans who got to work at Sega. I don't know. Don't ask me. I am the worst source of information, other than the fact that it's good. The animations are crisp and clear, and it feels fun. And Video Game Donkey did a review on it, and his phrasing was, the game is just enough fun spinny swirls while also making you control the game. And that's what a lot of Sonics kind of lose on, is that the game sort of pretty much plays itself, and you're oh, look how fast he's going. But this one returns to the old ways, where you have to play the game. You have to jump and decide where you're going, and you're getting some loop-de-loops, yeah, but you're also having to actually platform and pay attention, and the levels don't just go right. They are a maze. Sometimes the final place is down. Sometimes the final place is up and to the left. It's different. It's mixing it up. It's changing things around, and it's fun. And they bring back the old Sonic 3 emerald bonus stages with the blue and red balls, and you have to collect all the blue ones or whatever on the spherical globe thing. And yeah, they brought that back. It's not for the emeralds though. You get silver coins that unlock other things. The way to get emeralds is a little different. It's God, how do I describe this? Like, you know how on Mario Kart there are roads, the way they look pixelated and weird? They like have that for Sonic, where you're trying to catch up to a robot that has the emerald, and you pick up little orbs to make you go faster, and you pick up rings to give you more time to get to that guy. And you gotta watch out for obstacles and not take damage so that you can get to the emerald. I've only gotten 4. I cannot beat the 5th. It seems to be too hard for me. But again, that's interesting. They made this new way to get emeralds that's like the old games. They made an interesting bonus stage, and some of the actual stages are interesting remixes of old stages. Like there's definitely Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant, and I know there's one later. Whatever. But then they also have new zones, entirely new zones, and new music, which is amazing, by the way. I know a lot of people played Sonic 2, the one where they first introduced Tails, and everyone loves the music from that game, and they just brought it back, and like Chemical Plant has a sweet remix of itself, the music it had from Sonic 2, and they even had like interesting new music, and I think they even have vocals in a couple of the stages, but it's so good. It does such a good job of bringing back old Sonic while introducing new aspects. Like all the animations are new, and not new, but fresh. When Sonic jumps on a springboard, he does a weird spin. It's just good. Like, they knew what they were making, and then they made it. And I think it had like an 83 or something on Metacritic, but I hate to be nostalgic, but this game is so good. Like, it's such a good throwback to an old Sonic, but also is better than old Sonics, you know? So, I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm just repeating myself. The game's good. It's a good game. Play a good game for good gamers. Seriously, it's worth the $20. And I think Penny Arcade even did a webcomic on it. That's where Mario sends a letter to Sonic congratulating him on returning to the video game world. Like, this is the breath of fresh air that Sonic needed, and it's just back. Like, I want a Sonic Mania 2, and I want it like in the next week, but it's not going to happen. I will buy any DLC Sonic Mania has because it's that good. Then there's the secrets at the end for replayability. You get to play as Knuckles, and Knuckles has he has the same stages, but he has different paths through the stages. Like, they just did it right, okay? Like, the game does have flaws, but they did it right. And I suppose that brings me to, the end of this podcast. Like, it's only been, 48 minutes, 50 minutes? And I've just pretty much been rambling on myself. I've had no assistance in this one. But I think we're going to do another podcast in the immediate future. I'm going to try really hard to get everyone back together to be able to do this. Because like I said, Steve had to work late today, Dan's out of town, and on Thursday Dan's out of town, and on Thursday Nick is going out with coworkers to do silly drinky stuff or whatever. Man, it is hard to get 4 people together. And I'm sorry that we are not consistent in our podcasting. But I hope you enjoy what we do put out. I hope this is entertaining enough for you. Because my voice is absolutely thrashed, and I've only been talking like 45 minutes. But thanks for listening. Come back, huh?
Come back and listen to us ramble on. I'll make everyone else talk more because you had to suffer through this. But thank you, and have a good rest of your week, night, year, life, whatever. Just be happy.